Russia lost 43 tanks in the past week as its forces have struggled to advance, according to reports from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Ukraine's armed forces provides daily updates on Facebook to detail the total combat losses of the Russian troops. The updates showed that Ukraine destroyed at least 43 Russian tanks. The December update showed that at least 24 tanks were destroyed in one day. The updates from Ukraine's armed forces come amid the ongoing war between the two nations, which has lasted for nearly a year after Russian President Vladimir Putin announced the special military operation on February 24. Ahead of the winter months, many have indicated that Russia might be failing to make advancements as Ukraine continues to counterattack and attempt to take back regions under Russian control. Russian ground forces are unlikely to make operationally significant advances within the next several months, the UK Ministry of Defense said in a recent update. In a recent assessment of Russia's offensive campaign, the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, said that Putin is using two simultaneous military efforts to pursue his ultimate objective of regaining control of Ukraine and securing major territorial concessions. The ISW assessed that Putin's offensive campaigns in Donetsk Oblast, particularly around Bakhmut and in the Avdiivka Donetsk city area, hope to diminish Ukraine's ability to defend any other territory in order to force Ukraine into ceasefire negotiations. The massive Russian missile strikes against critical Ukrainian infrastructure are Putin's second military effort to compel Ukraine to surrender or enter negotiations on Putin's terms, the ISW said. Over the course of the last 2 months, Russian forces have used missiles and drones to systematically target civilian and energy infrastructure in a way that generates disproportionate psychological impacts but does not achieve significant military objectives. In an update, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine said that Russian forces continue to shell military positions and civilian infrastructure in the regions of Zaporizhia and Kherson. The Russian troops continues to strengthen the defense line on the border of the Kherson region and the Autonomous Republic of Crimea. It also strengthens the defense and protection of water supply facilities to the temporarily occupied territory of Crimea, in particular the North Crimean Canal, the update said. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian army began to attempt counterattacks in the suburbs of Bakhmut. Despite the previously declared plight of the armed forces of Ukraine in Bakhmut and on its outskirts, it became known that the Ukrainian troops were not only able to rotate and reinforce their units with 3 battalions at once, up to 5,000 people, but also try to take counterattack actions on outskirts of Bakhmut and in its suburbs. The armed forces of Ukraine began to be observed over the past 48 hours on the eastern outskirts of Bakhmut. The armed forces of Ukraine tried to develop a counteroffensive, but they could not achieve any significant success. Moreover, there is a high activity of Ukrainian troops in the area of the settlement, experienced in Kleshchiivka south of Bakhmut. In the region, among other things, there is a rather intensive work of unmanned aerial vehicles. Increased activity in Bakhmut began to be observed after Vladimir Zelensky arrived there, while, quite remarkably, an additional 200 to 300 foreign mercenaries were sent in the direction of Bakhmut, which does not exclude the possibility that the armed forces of Ukraine may try to prepare a breakthrough in this direction, which, by the way, is very doubtful, because otherwise the losses of the armed forces of Ukraine will be colossal and any failure will lead to a quick breakthrough of Wagner PMC to the direction of not only Bakhmut, but also Konstantinovka. Meanwhile, President Ukrainian Volodymyr Zelensky traveled to the US for his first known trip outside Ukraine since the war began. He met with President Joe Biden at the White House and later concluded his brief trip with an address at the U.S. capital before a special joint session of Congress. During his speech on Capitol Hill, Zelensky thanked American politicians for past and future defense aid packages. He described that support as an investment in the global security and democracy that we handle in the most responsible way. Zelensky stopped in Poland on his return trip home to meet with Polish President Andrzej Duda, according to Zelensky's office. As Zelensky traveled back to Ukraine, the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense said Russian President Vladimir Putin also made a trip outside his country earlier this week with a visit to Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko to discuss a single defense space.